And welcome to What the Fiction, our deep dive discussion of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and with me is...
Kyle Gould, your other guy.
You're the other guy. We have been having so much fun thinking about doing the show and getting into it and creating the little animations and stuff like that. And we just want to thank everyone who's been coming out and or watching it after the fact. We absolutely love this whole thing. We've been really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a delight. So let's start things off right with a drink. Here you are, Marie-Claire.
Okay.
Here's your tasty beverage. It's called a Dr. Pepper Depth Charge.
I'm very scared.
Why are you scared?
So what's in it?
Yes, first, here we go. Cheers, chin chin.
Oh, yes.
Salut, chink. I hope everyone is having a delightful day. Let's all get sloshed and talk about all of the things in this episode because there's lots to get sloshed about.
All right.
Cheers.
What is in it? Oh, is that ice? Oh no, the shot is in there.
Yeah, it's a Dr. Pepper Depth Charge. So what it is half Coke, half light beer, and a shot of amaretto at the bottom. Normally it's not made as a depth charge, but I love dropping shot glasses into beer glasses. And so any chance I can get to do one, I always take it.
Okay,
so here we go, Dr. Pepper Depth Charge.
So it's not terrible. I didn't know what to expect. You said you were going to do something Dr. Pepper, and I hate Dr. Pepper, but it doesn't taste... It tastes a lot like Coke.
Yeah, it's a Cokey beer.
It's Cokey beer.
Yeah, and I think our soda stream is getting low on CO2, and the Coke's not as fuzzy and fizzy as it could be.
Oh, okay.
This could be fizzier.
Yeah.
The amaretto's I think the amaretto's kind of melding. It hasn't done so yet. Anyway, if you have had a depth charge of your own, feel free to throw it up in the comments or hit me up on Twitter. I would love to hear more. But this is the sort of drink that a couple of guys who are already pretty drunk at the bar would start ordering. And
then would start vomiting.
I don't know about. I mean, you're still drinking beer and hard liquor, right? So,
yeah, okay.
Well, liqueur. It's not a hard liquor.
It's a liqueur, yeah.
But speaking in my early 20s, this is something I've definitely, unfortunately, had too late at night.
You're no longer in your early 20s.
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope. That's half.
This
my
is
life
why
ago.
We're having it in the middle of the afternoon.
Exactly. And then we'll go play basketball and work this off because this is a lot of carbs.
Oh God. Okay. It's actually really good. Like it's comparable to your super duper cocktails that you created for WandaVision.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, it's not so bad. I just wish it was fizzier.
Yeah, I wish it was fizzier too.
It needs to be fizzier. So that's my big concern.
Yeah. Well, so cheers to you, all of you who have joined us. Whatever you're drinking, tea, coffee, alcohol. Whatever.
Or your very own depth charge.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I keep on expecting it to taste worse than it does.
Yeah,
but
no,
it tastes
doesn't.
really good, actually. I like start to cringe. I'm like, oh no, but it tastes really good. So thank you.
It looks like mud. You know what it does look like?
Yeah.
It looks like those Slurpees you used to get as a kid where you would mix up all of the flavors.
Yeah.
It really looks like that.
Yeah, it really does. I do want to remind everyone to like and subscribe either on YouTube or your podcast app of choice if you were listening to this after the fact and just the audio. We'll be doing this for the rest of the season, as well as we'll be doing Loki, which is cool. And also, we have an official date for early access / theater. It's going to be coming out July for Black Widow, and we will cover it because we've been doing all this other stuff and it's been fun.
Keep it up.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems manageable with our schedule in life.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What do we have plans for? Yeah.
Know,
So
right?
overall, how did you feel about this episode?
Okay, so I watched this episode on Friday at 1:00 in the morning.
I did not think I fell asleep and you were like...
But I had the day off on Friday because I was going to play Monster Hunter Rise all day long, and then my friend couldn't get the game until like 2 PM, so it felt like a waste of a day off. But a day off's a day off, and I had a delightful time watching it. But then when it was done, I felt kind of let down in a way that only maybe episode 7 of WandaVision did. Like, it was still
but I loved episode
TV.
7.
Oh, okay. It was still good TV, but it didn't feel like anything was pushed forward. We're still getting introduced to characters, and we're still getting introduced to themes and concepts and ideas. And so I felt let down. And upon second viewing, I enjoyed it a lot more. And I'll talk about why that is. But how did you feel about the episode?
I really liked this episode. Like, I had a lot of fun. Again, this show seems to suffer from, if you start thinking about things too much, you're like, oh, this maybe falls apart in the details, right? A little bit. And there's a few points in the show, like how we had that discussion in the first episode about Tunisia and Libya, and like,
I had the same problem today. I was like, everyone's in Maryland?
Everyone's in Baltimore?
Everyone's got... Gosh, they got there quick.
Yeah, everybody gets places quick. It just feels like there's a few things where I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, the MCU has always kind of behaved in a very weird way like that, and you just kind of have to kind of like pass it by. If you look too much in the details, you're like, oh, okay, this is like tissue paper.
Exactly.
I struggle with other properties that do the same thing. So it is just a personal pet peeve of mine. If you're like, if I look too closely at this, does this disintegrate? Other than that, there is some really interesting social commentary happening in this episode. And I'm not just going to talk about the racial issues, especially in America and all over the world. That certainly is something that they are accentuating consistently throughout the show. But there is something to be said about Americanisms and like the pageantry of Americana, and that hits us right off the bat. And I probably have a rant. So if you are a extremist American, this show is not for you. You have been warned.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier is for you.
Oh, no. But
maybe your rant.
This rant in this show is probably not for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a strong, devout American, I don't think that there's going to be a problem with that, because this show, what is going on here is starting to push that. Where's the line? What is the boundary between nationalism and patriotism? Right?
And extremist nationalism.
Patriotism is good. Nationalism is bad. We should just because that is holding your own country, your own people higher or better than anyone else, and you really shouldn't. That's not to say you shouldn't be proud of who you are and where you're from and your rich heritage and your history, dark and turbulent though it may be. That you should still be proud and patriotic. But where does that line come between patriotism and nationalism? Because a lot of people think that those two words are synonymous when they are not.
They are not, and when it pushes to the extreme, like we see many examples of in this show, this particular episode, it's definitely making a social commentary, and I am really surprised that not more people are talking about it.
Yeah, I'm really shocked too.
So we're going to talk about it.
Yeah,
but
we're definitely going to dig into it, because I think that's a major theme in this show and in this episode in particular, because we are introduced to that guy that crosses the line between patriotism and a patriot, and nationalism and a nationalist.
Yeah, I have a good friend who I called just to kind of check my logic on some of the stuff I was going to talk about, just because he has a background. He grew up in Texas. He played football on the high school football team, and has become like incredibly vocal about white nationalism, especially, and sort of the attitudes that end up kind of being pervasively inserted into people's minds throughout their adolescence and eventual adulthood. And I just called him, and he hadn't seen the episodes, and I just kind of ran past like what happened in this one, and he ended up watching the episodes. And before he watched it, he saw the meme of John Walker as Captain America, and he literally thought that was somebody who had gone to the Capitol on January 6th. He thought that like, before he had even watched the episodes, he thought that was a person that was like dressed up like Captain America badly and thought of themselves as a patriot.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So I have a lot to say, so stay with me as I rant.
Yeah, I am. So I have some stuff I wanted to talk about as well. So
before
I'm interested.
Before we get into the slides,
we can get into it, and I can talk about it then.
Okay.
Because I think the best thing is that it starts with the best thing ever, which is the sexiest zipper I've ever seen.
You have So this episode was called "The Star-Spangled Man,"
It should be called the sexy zipper.
Okay, but who is the Star-Spangled Man? Is it referring directly to John Walker?
It is Cap. He is the Star-Spangled Man.
Yeah.
The song in Winter's First Avenger.
Yeah.
The song in First Avenger has that as a title in it.
But like that, Cap's no longer around, so it's all about the shadow of Captain America and what is still around, and it's super fascinating. I grabbed this shot because it's like 2 seconds where it like unzips
it's long,
his little
slow, sexy zipper.
But like.
I wish I had a zipper that nice.
But
that is a nice zipper.
I was like, why is this zipper here? And you're like, oh, it's because everything is unraveling already. Yeah. And I'm like, oh.
Well, and also everything is being revealed.
Oh,
right?
Revealed, yes. Yes. But, we get this really cool introduction to John Walker. He peels the tape off of his locker, his former locker as the captain of the football team.
In his high school football team, he's getting changed in his high school changing room.
And we see, the buckets, we see the helmets and the, uniforms, right? And so this is where, this is so fascinating because for many people, especially who grew up in the South, like Texas or Arizona or these other locations, there's a certain amount of you go from one uniform to another uniform to another uniform. And John Walker specifically went from being the captain of the football team to enlisting to going to West Point to becoming special forces and kind of changing uniforms until eventually he is Captain America. And you would think that, and I just love the little moment with his wife or significant other when they do the little.
She seemed like an AOC swap over. Like she looked and dressed a lot like AOC to me.
Really?
Yeah, I got a real AOC vibe from her.
But she does the pinky thing. Put up your hand.
I don't know what.
Show other hand. She does the pinky thing. This is cute. So they go like this, and then they go, and they shake their pinkies, and they kiss their little thumbs.
Their little
they kiss them.
Ow! You punch me?
No, they did it, and it was really cute. I was like, the actors probably worked that out. That was really cute.
I don't remember
pinky
that
swear.
at all.
I took a picture of it. It's on the screen.
I was still too busy thinking oh, that's AOC.
No,
that's probably what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very different for me personally.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But I think that it's just a really interesting thing because football and the military, especially over the last 2 decades, has become sort of inextricably linked. And here's my rant. I did a full slide to kind of show. So football itself started out as a sport that was invented because people were worried that the men, especially in America, were becoming soft. And this was kind of between the Civil War and some other wars, one of the Germanic wars, and eventually the World War I. It is literally a battle on a field. You're trying to take yards. You're trying to take the enemy's area. They use very similar terminology. And so even from its get-go, it's always been kind of a battle. That in and of itself, it's become a game. It's become a national sport that people really, really identify with and love. But more and more, the military has creeped into the pageantry of football. So almost every college game now gets a flyover by the Air Force. So major televised games get flyovers at NFL games. They have military games specifically where everybody will be wearing camouflaged outfits. I know the NHL does it occasionally as well, which is really, really odd. But they became so linked that even kids in high school would be going through SEAL level like boot camp training as part of their like football training. And some kids actually have died from this. And it's because there's kind of this mentality that you're either going to become a crazy football star or you're going to become a national hero that's like a SEAL, like a Navy SEAL. There's like this idea that like these are the two kind of glory paths for young American youths. And many kids are recruited out of high school for either football or for military. And it's just part of the inevitable like pageantry of what it is to be American. And so when we actually see like the military in the background, plus, probably a more than high school band, but then all the crowds all wearing the stars and stripes and everything like that. But the entire point of the role that John Walker is going to be fulfilling as Captain America is no longer just a representative and to do what's right for, against the bad guys. He literally goes into, as his current job before he was Captain America, goes into other nations as special forces and like takes out people or does special things, right? Like special forces is something that is incredibly imperialistic, and the US does this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so like this is where it crosses the line in it's like Teddy Roosevelt was quoted saying that he was a jingoist because he was interested in making other nations fear America. And like
jingoists are bad.
Yeah, jingoists are bad. Well, jingoism is itself extremist nationalism to the point of wanting to cause violence to other groups. It borders on chauvinism. And this was all set up to show this is the pathway that we send our kids in America towards. It's fascinating. And nobody is talking about it. I don't know why. Do you have any thoughts? Sorry, that was my rant.
That wasn't much of a rant. It was more like just an explanation of things that have happened and are.
I mean, it's not really a rant other than this is what we have to pay attention to. And when the occasional broadcaster is on a hot mic and explains how uncomfortable he is with the military being so engaged in the NFL, especially, like they shouldn't be censured for that. That's all.
That's very fair.
Yeah, I'm going to drink my drink.
Yeah, you drink your drink. Okay, so let's tie that into the show because we've got this pageantry that has begun to initiate us into who is the new Cap. And we are introduced to him in his high school environs because he's a fellow American who grew up just like everybody else. He's from here. He's from the state of Georgia in this very nice, homesy, very football-oriented town. And he played football here. And let's show you just how important he was at football because his initials are engraved on the steel plate of the locker, which is like... Okay, so that's also who this guy is.
Yeah.
That he would take his nameplate off and engrave his name behind it so that everyone who came after him will know you came after John Walker. And that's funny because he's a guy who wanted to tell people, you follow me, and he himself is following. Right? So he cannot get away from the shadow of Captain America himself because he's donned the mantle of Captain America, and he will forever be inextricably linked to it. And so I do not doubt that if there is a name change that is going to happen here from either U.S. Patriot or U.S. Agent, that like in what happened in the comics, that it will be inspired and driven by him.
Yeah,
and that'll be
because they're definitely laying the groundwork
points.
That he's not comfortable with necessarily being Captain America.
Exactly.
And they did a really good job. And shout out to Wyatt Russell for being charming and being his father's and mother's son. Wow,
absolutely.
Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell's kid. Although he didn't inherit Kurt Russell's chin at all.
Okay, so we're in the high school, and they're gonna do everything they possibly can to make you empathize and like this character. Right? They don't do these things with Bucky. Bucky wakes up sleeping on a floor in an empty apartment, and you're like, why are you there? And you wonder if it even belongs to him. But instead, we are introduced to this lovely lady who is his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, his wife,
significant other
person that is deeply connected to him. And she seems like this smiling, happy, I like you, you're an amazing person.
Yeah, we're supposed to be like, this guy is good.
Exactly.
That's how they're framing it.
Moment of like, good morning, I'm Cap, I'm what, how do I, and you did so bad in drama class. Oh, cause we're supposed to get along with this new Cap. He's vulnerable. But you know what? His vulnerability is not laid bare before the world. His vulnerability is in a tiny little football locker room. Where he is alone except for two extremely close friends. But they do a good job of lifting him up, and you feel like, okay, maybe this guy, and then he goes on Good Morning Captain America on ABC. And are surrounded by people are cheering, and they're hooting, and they're hollering, and they're all happy. They're like, yeah, it's Cap. But everyone at home, and I don't doubt you're the same way, is still like, I hate you. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit as well about why you hate New Captain America.
Okay, yeah, this is great because I actually kind of think like they've done a really good job of trying to make us feel like we should be empathetic with him, but it still doesn't quite, it still feels false.
Yes.
So
it feels false, and here's why. In the first Captain America movie where we're introduced to him, he is a nobody. We watch him get the snot kicked out of him. And so we empathize with him because he's the little guy. And when he becomes the big guy, the leader, that comes from a root of having understood and been low man on the totem pole, the hero rising from ashes, right? We see that. Okay, so we see the proper hero being properly born, right? The hero's journey starting for a true call, right?
Yeah, what we're supposed to cheer for in the mythology of America, right? Like the high school captain of the football team, the specialty hero that goes out and makes the world a safer place.
Yes, and he comes from that root that we understand him to have had struggle. We don't ever see John Walker struggle except to say, "Hi, I'm Captain America." Right? That's the only struggle we've seen him have. So we have no baseline upon which to build him up for. He has very little foundation, and the foundation that they're trying to lay as much as they can is all media hoopla, which all of us, I don't know if you're like me, are tired of. Okay, so back to First Avenger. Okay, so Steve is not out there solving crimes and stopping the world problems, right? Steve is made into a super soldier, and then he's sent out there to get people excited for the war because the war is important. He has a codified, defined mission, his prerogative, and he wants to break free from that to do more good. But he cannot because he is he's a figurehead.
Yeah, and they are showing that shadow reflection of their experiences in that it's supposed to feel exactly like Cap's journey in that he had to do the pageantry and like sell the war and everything like that. But it's sort of from a place of like, you know, you don't understand why this is important. And Cap understood why it was important, even though it was something that he was like, I could do more.
But this John Walker has already gone on missions. He's already done these things. And in the very next scene we see him in, he is already out there doing the things that the modern Captain America was doing. And that's okay. So we have this. The reason Captain America was created was to get people to be more supportive and to be more energized and donate and enlist in this war.
I mean,
what is modern Captain America there for?
He's there to be Captain America.
But there's no purpose for that Captain America. So this is one of the reasons why we hate him, because there was no need for Captain America. That shield could rightly just still be in the Smithsonian, and we all would feel that and accept that. We do not need some new guy marching around telling everyone how great America is, because that wasn't the purpose for Captain America in the first place.
Yeah.
That purpose wasn't how great is America. The purpose was we need to stop that bad thing, and he is going to stand up for us.
Yeah.
That's a very different statement, and one we can all get behind. This current one of America is great, y'all, is not one we can get behind. That is a problem.
Yeah.
So why you hate Captain America is for two things. One, there is zero nostalgia, which was really built up, right? Like, I don't even think if we looked back to the 1940s and we were actually living there, I think people would have been chucking things like they did in the early days for Captain America as well. Nobody's throwing tomatoes at this new Captain America. Everyone loves him. That seems weird, doesn't it? And two, he has no clear enemy. Who is he there to stop? Who is he the shield from? Because remember, he carries a shield, and a shield is a symbol of protection. So what guns are being fired at Captain America?
Yeah, it's like this nebulous, like, we don't know what these things are, and thus we're afraid of them, which is, like, wrong, too, right? Like, just because you don't understand something doesn't mean that it needs to be your enemy. And it just looks like Captain America now, John Walker, is just going out into the field for the sake of being out in the field.
Right, because I'm America, y'all. I'm punch you in the face, and you're going to know it was America doing it. Well, thankfully, I don't think that's what we're going to get.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of that this episode, and that's one of the things that left that kind of sour, bitter taste in my mouth. Like, it was really delicious, purposeful. And then I start thinking about it.
It's
purposeful. And I hope you've been thinking about it too, because a lot of people on Twitter were like, wow, I kind of liked him more this episode. I didn't think I would. And it's like, well, that's deliberate.
Yeah.
It's deliberately done that way. And you are falling for that media buildup, that hype, those influencer comments that you can get from people to build that up. And and that's my big problem. And that's also football, right?
Yeah.
So back to your football comment. Why is it in a football stadium? Why are they dragging in his football past? Because they want more kids to enlist in the United States Army. And where else are they going to get a giant stadium full of people these days?
Exactly.
They're certainly not going to get it at NASCAR races. I mean, I think they still have Army and Navy and Air Force enlistment at NASCAR races and whatnot too. Anywhere a large gathering of people are happening, you will find the America machine of war there trying to bring people in.
It's inexorably linked to the pageantry associated with Americana. And I just, it makes me feel deeply uncomfortable because I can see through it easily because I'm not American, but I'm close enough to the culture because of where we live. I did want to shout out to Disney, global media, and tying it back to Good Morning America, which also makes me feel like deeply uncomfortable. I'm like, you wanted your brand on this guy who's eventually gonna like lose it or be crazy or whatever. Like, okay. It was really interesting that they pulled in ABC to that. I really appreciate the storytelling in this. It's subtle in some ways that many people will just totally miss. And I wish more people were having this conversation about the link between football and militarization of America. But maybe it'll be something that comes out later on in the show as sort of
if they only
a
realized
point.
that they took half the budget they spent on defense and put that into education, they'd be better prepared against any war to come.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think they realize that educating the people of the future will protect you for the future.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the slow erosion of America intelligentsia already happening. And if that's the case, how are you're not defending the future at all? You're just spending more money on missiles that people won't even know how to build or fire. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, exactly. We have gone too long on this, but I do want you to think critically as, people listening to this show about what they're trying to say, because they don't frame these things for no reason. Specifically spending so much time in that locker room, you're meant to understand what kind of person this John Walker grew up to be.
Yeah, and we're going to get more of him because he is basically the third listed main character of this show. I was hoping for more Agent 13. I think we're getting less Agent 13.
That's okay. I mean, they're telling a story. I'm willing to judge it at the end. So we get that whole, I've got guts conversation with the interviewer, with Bucky listening as he's sitting on the floor. You have a chair. You're not asleep. You have a chair. Please sit in your chair. Do I need to take care of you?
Remember, he sleeps with the TV on.
No, I know.
So I wonder if he woke up to this.
He's got a shirt on.
What a world to wake up to that.
He wasn't asleep.
He sleeps in his clothes. He doesn't have jammies.
No, he had no shirt on last time.
What sort of pajamas would Bucky have?
Yeah.
Probably silver dollars and cowboys. I don't know.
Well,
he'd have the Hobbit pajamas after all. He's read that.
He's read The Hobbit. He's a Tolkien fan.
Yeah,
you can appreciate, but he's obviously upset about the conversation and who took it over, and he's like, kind of just takes off exactly where it left off with Sam finding out about the shield, etc. And then immediately, who knows where Sam is and who knows where Bucky's apartment is.
I literally wrote this question down. How did Bucky find Sam?
Yeah.
I'm like,
don't look
Sam
too
is
close.
just getting back from his mission.
No, he's going back. Like he was in Louisiana because he watched the show in Louisiana.
And now he's going somewhere.
And now he's going somewhere.
And Bucky just shows up.
He just shows up.
I don't need the connection, but it did seem like, how? Isn't this a phone call? But anyway.
I mean, yeah, but he shows up and it's all within the guise to let Bucky come on the mission too, which I was hoping for a little bit more out of the scene that they come together other than just Bucky yelling at him about giving away the shield, which is fine. I mean, people come together for a variety of reasons.
We haven't really gotten to ask that question of Sam. And that was important. So it's good that we get to this point, and it needs to start with a perspective of like, how dare you? This is what you wanted, sort of perspective.
Yeah, this is what you wanted out of this, and then we get this amazing the big three. I love this so much.
I like how Dominic is like, and how did he manage to go to a military op? He's the White Wolf. He can go wherever he wants, and no one will know he was there.
I know, he's super sneaky now.
He's been super sneaky the whole time.
And he's like cyborg / super soldier. So he's got kind of all the different things in there. All he needs is a little bit of magic from a sorcerer. From Wanda, and then he's got it all. He's got it all. He's amazing.
The alien though.
Yeah.
Fill him up with some Kree blood.
I mean, yeah, they could do that, right?
Yeah.
That'd be easy.
This is the good arm too, because this is the real arm. He'll have a Kree arm, cyborg arm. And magic.
Magic. Just from his eyes. But the big three conversation. We saw this in a trailer or a clip or something like that, and it was hilarious. And everyone's like, "But what about super soldiers?" And yeah, that's totally still the question.
The big three: androids, aliens, wizards.
Yeah.
We fighting Gandalf?
We're fighting Gandalf? No. But what about Doctor Strange? Oh, a sorcerer is just a wizard without a hat.
And I love the fact that he then says, I just thought of that just now.
Yeah, I love that. I love that too. He's like, I'm justifying all of this, but it's common. It's something that people commonly talk about.
Yes.
And I'm guessing it's because the world has only seen androids, aliens, and wizards do anything major to the world. So that's all that's permeated to
which is
pop
weird because
culture.
like Red Skull and his super soldier program and all the other things.
I mean,
that's got a history there,
but not recently.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You know what? It was funny, and that's what we like about this.
Yes.
Is that they're rubbing up against each other's rough edges. Is really fun to watch because we know that they're eventually going to click.
I mean, that was what Kevin Feige said when he greenlit the show after the Civil War bug, like conversation in the bug, everyone was like, I want to see them go on a road trip. Well, that's literally what greenlit this show, was their chemistry. And we get it in spades in this episode. And I'm so happy.
Yes, this scene here and then the next 3 scenes are my favorite parts of the show.
This episode,
and I could have done anything. I could have done away with all of the other of it and just had that, and I would have been over the moon.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Enjoying it.
I read the original in 1937. He looks so tired. I don't know what they did to Sebastian Stan, but he literally has like bags under his eyes, and he looks really tired, and he's an angry, tired nerd.
Yep.
Now,
the angriest, the tiredest.
Bucky is a nerd, and I never got that impression, but I guess he went through like a library phase or something, like where he was constantly hanging out in the library, which is really awesome. And then
maybe he's living at the library.
They head to Munich, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is in Munich?
Or who else was in Munich? I don't know if he's still
in Munich. He's in Munich. They go back to
Munich.
Munich.
They show us the circle. Yeah.
They go back to Munich to show us at the end of the episode that they're going to go and see Zemo.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a coincidence? That's my question.
I don't know. But that looks a lot higher than 200 feet. I'll just point that out.
Oh, no, but they go down.
I guess that's true. Also, Americans just get to fly wherever they want and throw things out of whatever planes they want to throw them. Like, they flew from Louisiana to Germany, didn't fly to the airport, and just threw some guys out into the countryside. Like, they are just
like weird. They would need to refuel somewhere.
I don't know. Planes can go so far these days, but at the same time, it's just whatever. We needed to get to Munich to show a cool locale and have some fun on a road and tie things together. So let's do that. And I have to admit, I was trying to play a video game downstairs, and all of a sudden someone starts laughing.
I could not
and then
stop
laughing more, and then like 35 full seconds of guffawing laughter from upstairs at this scene.
When he's like, okay, we're 200 feet, where's the chute? And then the chute, and he's like, no chutes, it's only 200 feet. And he's like, fine, I'll just jump out. And Torres is like, you can do that kind of face. And he does. And he uses his arm to basically hit as many things
he's trying to grab a
on
tree
the way down and slow himself down, and then eventually like falls. And I died laughing because like it is the most, like, especially Bucky in like the modern sense of the word, it is the most like it was just like, this was a dumb idea, but like you made it work. I'm just obsessed with this because also like in fan fiction he is considered to be kind of like this, like it just the fans' interpretation, especially since he's so young, now that I've found that out from when we talked about him in the pre-show, this is who he is. He's kind of just like, I will just go and beat this up and break it and work. And I died laughing. And then you know, he snuck into the building and he tried to.
I just love that Red Wing comes in. He's like, get that thing out of my face.
He tries to fight him. Like,
and Zach wanted us to talk about where this animosity towards Red Wing comes from. And I'm not too sure, but I mean, it's been there for the entirety of the MCU. Anytime those those characters have interacted, he has not liked Red Wing. Bucky hasn't. I don't know really why. I think it has to do a little bit of jealousy.
I think it has to do with he doesn't trust Red Wing because he knows that anything that is electronic can be hacked and used for evil purposes. And so he doesn't trust things, he trusts people. That's personally my perspective.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he's proven right later on too. So
also, it's a good way to dig at Sam without digging at Sam by not liking your bird, right?
I don't
and
like
it's
your
not
bird.
a bird. It doesn't need a name. Why are you? It's not a thing. I don't need to talk to it.
Yeah, nobody likes Red Wing actually. So
I love Red Wing.
No, I mean like Nat has commented on not liking Red Wing and like all of this. So do you think, like, I know we'll get to R.I.P. Red Wing.
Also, you get to have a drone, and Mom and Dad didn't give me a drone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right? Like I can see that.
Tony made him a drone. It was weird. It's just, I don't know. Whatever.
Tony fit the character concept.
Yeah. Tony's anyway. Like, you need a bird. Here's a drone. But R.I.P. Red Wing later on. Do you think he's gonna get one back? You think he's gonna get a new Red Wing?
Oh yeah, he has to.
I mean, Red Wing's important.
They killed his bird.
Well, I mean, yeah. Carly killed his bird. She like snapped him in half and everything.
I absolutely loved that moment, though. I completely 100% loved the that moment that is to come, and then the response of Bucky following that is just delightful.
It's growing on me.
Which,
even more. Yeah.
Because you're getting more.
It's
of the
more
amaretto
mixed.
now.
Yeah, it's more mixed. Yeah. And then we get the like whole him running after the trucks, and we had this discussion in the pre-show. I'm like, he's a super soldier. Like, he's had the serum, he's had adjustments made, and you're like, nah, he's just a guy with an arm. I'm like, proven right.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
I can't believe he
this
was able to
episode.
use his hand like that to run. I don't know how his arm did it, but it definitely.
But
was
he
the
ran
responsible
super fast.
for,
We saw him
He
run
did.
super fast in Civil War.
Yes.
So this is.
He's a super soldier. It's confirmed. It's for sure.
He's a super
Legit.
and also part cyborg with his brain, according to Sam. So that's interesting. Yeah. But I loved when he showed up, in the truck, and then we get like 2 seconds of Erin Kellyman's amazing like switch that she has. I have a slide for that to kind of show that. But and then he gets kicked off into the other truck. Oh my God. I loved this moment so much. This fight really did it for me.
But my question was, why are those two bad guys on the roof of that? How did they get there? They weren't there when he ran up, and then suddenly they're just on the roof of the other vehicle.
Maybe they were between like the truck and the cab or something. They're hidden.
He runs up, breaks in.
Yeah, you can't see them in the one shot
you
in
can
the
see their
upper
feet
corner.
in the bottom corner. There.
Yeah,
like literally they pull him up and they fight, and the fight happens. What a great fight!
Yeah, but first, the faces of Carly Morgenthau. So I do want to talk a little bit, especially as we get later on when we see like more of the internal workings of the Flag Smashers. Why does she look so innocent 90% of the time?
Mm-hmm.
And then like that smile. And then everyone puts on their masks to go and kick ass.
Yeah.
Why? It's such an interesting thing. I don't know why. But is it just to cover the stuntman and women?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, but also like we are faceless, we are one. We are a unit.
Yeah, one world,
group.
one people is their whole chant.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I love I love her face and all of that stuff. Like her acting in this and the switch that happens because she looks so innocent. She's like, "Are you the hostage?" And then
what was she doing there anyway? Just kind of like hanging out. Didn't want to be around people. Having an off day. Need to spend some time, but with the vaccines.
Doing research on her phone.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe there wasn't enough seats in the cab because there was 8 of them, right?
I'm the smallest. I'll sit in the back. Yeah, I don't. Either way, it was great.
Yeah.
It did a wonderful setup and a twist so that they know she is the bad guy.
Yeah,
she is not a good guy, and she's in charge.
And she's the leader too, which
she's in
was
charge.
a good kind of reveal from last episode. I mean, everybody knew she was going to be the leader because of the commercials, but yeah.
Anyway, this fight is great, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Captain America shows up and just kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
Except for one moment, my favorite moment in the whole show. That was my favorite line. I just made that up on the spot. My favorite moment in the whole show is when she punches John Walker in the face and knocks him off the truck.
Like he hits her like 3 times or something with the shield. Yes. I love the moment, especially in this fight when Bucky grabs the shield and then John like runs by and grabs it. Like it was
Captain America and Bucky. He's so used to doing that, right?
Yeah, it was really solid, and I really, really loved like how overwhelmed the 4 of them were. Because it didn't seem like they had like Bucky was being held and then she punched him. I loved Like, yeah, everything to do with this fight was just really, really entertaining.
Really well done. And Sam had all of his objectives to get around, like the car out of nowhere, the two trucks slamming into each other. He had so much to do as well. And then John Walker and Battlestar arrive and kind of mix things up.
It's like John Walker, Captain America, and like, oh my goodness, just so solid. And then I really loved that Battlestar got thrown off of the truck and he threw this shield to catch him.
Yeah.
I really loved that.
Little cradling moment.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got you, buddy.
And then, Sam picks up Bucky from underneath the truck and they roll down the fields. The best memes that I've seen about this are comparing it to Attack of the Clones with Padme and Anakin rolling in the fields of Naboo.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I love
Who doesn't want to, roll down a field of flowers together with your love?
Yeah.
It was adorable.
They needed to move that one twig out of the way so that we could actually see. Well, we can't see Sam's face.
Oh, yeah. I thought we could.
No.
Because they're rolling and it's so funny. I laughed out loud in that scene.
Yeah, it was so good.
Wonderful.
I loved it.
I enjoyed the shield. I enjoyed the rolling in the fields together because they're coming together, right?
Yeah.
They're coming together, maybe not as a team or lovers, but they are coming together.
Why not? Sorry.
Well, because they're not. That's just not going to happen. No matter how much we may want that, neither of them have shown that predilection. Of course, that's perfectly fine. But I want to point out something that's grossly overlooked in this scene because we love those bits. John Walker is the first to pull out a gun and he shoots someone in close range. That person doesn't die. They're fine, quote unquote. But honestly, they should be dead. John Walker escalates that situation by joining the battle and then realizing he can't do it. Mm-hmm. He's not strong enough. They're also super soldiers. So he pulls out a gun. He is the first to escalate. It doesn't work in his favor. But I mean, I honestly, I was prepared with death count. I was like, oh, he's not dead.
Yeah, we're nowhere near death count. Nobody's died yet.
Okay.
Yet.
All right. That moving on then, I guess. But that seemed sure weird that because he couldn't resolve things with his fists or his shield, he pulls out his own trusty gun.
Yeah.
Not something I'm used to seeing from Captain America.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to draw the differences there, but it felt very satisfying to see. Kelly, you kicked butt. Or sorry, Erin Kellyman, you kicked butt.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being awesome and joining this franchise and getting to play such a cool character. And yeah, Carly kicked him off the car or off the thing.
So good.
It
was so good.
Yeah. And then we get this actually super soldiers are more of a thing than we really wanted to talk about it. They're not just like a one-off. They're now the big four.
And that leaves us with questions. Mm-hmm. Now there's John Walker and Battlestar. And now there's these other 6. And we have Bucky. So where's this all coming from? And Bucky has an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely is like, oh, super soldiers, let's go talk to this. We got to go somewhere. We got to go have this conversation. That's the conversation that happens next. But Clee Bennett plays Lamar Hoskins, and Battlestar. It's like, what's your made up name? Like,
yeah, exactly. We're using those here.
Oh, we're using our made up names.
Is this a good point to talk about Lamar Hoskins and talk about Battlestar? When we learn a little bit more about where Battlestar comes from?
Let's talk about them, but just briefly,
sure.
This framing of them both being in the car and being mirrored or shadow versions of each other is very purposeful. It's it's trying to show that there is sort of a difference between even Sam, which was part of the first episode, was to show his more humble beginnings and his background, as well as to show kind of what Bucky is going to, is because Bucky's becoming kind of Sam's sidekick in this. It just was really, really good to see this parallel.
They're both partners.
They're
have to be
partners.
Sidekicks.
Partners.
I want Bucky to say, "I'm getting too old for this." He has to say that at some point.
Well, he did call him Magoo.
Yeah, he did.
Sam called Bucky Magoo. I'm sad. Although I did just watch a video of Sebastian Stan giving his character a birthday party all alone, celebrating his 107th year birthday.
Really?
But
That's adorable.
He did it all alone. He didn't invite anybody. And it was all just like, yeah. It was all just Anthony Mackie like trying to explain like how low key Sebastian Stan is and doesn't want attention. It's like really like an introvert and an extrovert like hanging out together. This is their lives.
That's funny. Also, Liam, a close personal friend of the show, he indicated that the gun that John Walker uses to shoot at one of the Flag Smashers is actually the a Colt 1911, which is the exact same pistol Cap uses in First Avenger. So they're really like trying to bring all of that together with the paraphernalia of Cap. Thanks for bringing that up, Liam.
Thanks, Liam. Yeah. So we get like this whole interesting conversation, and I did appreciate that Sam, like this is a really solid example of like a microaggression. If you're ever like, what the hell is a microaggression? And when he's like, you know, I'm not trying to fill the shoes. I'm just trying to be the best Captain America I can be. But it would be really nice to have Cap's wingman in there. It's like, oh, like it's not about partnership. It's not about really working together. You want me to be under you and supporting you and helping you. And I can understand why Sam gets very mad in this situation. There's so much stuff that ends up playing out.
It seemed like he was just resigned.
I mean, yeah. You're just that guy.
I never thought I was going to be able to work with you. That seals it.
But yeah, you made it so. Yeah. And then, you know, we get the introduction to behind the scenes of the Flag Smashers, not just this evil group that is evil group. I mean, they're stealing vaccines. Like, that's what they stole. They stole vaccines. Mm-hmm. They're called Robin Hood. I think I have another slide on them. But, like, they've kind of been slowly operating this whole time, and now they're going to escalate it. And she gets this text like, you took something from me and now I'm going to kill you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
I wonder who sent that.
Like, they're really sympathetic in so many ways because they're against the...
We get this like, I'm a guy in a farmhouse. And we knew you were coming, so we did all these things. Here's my best homemade meal I ever made, which, you know, you would only do that for somebody you really, really like. We set up we got beds and linens, and you're all set up with a place to sleep. It's all clean. Like, we're really like, that farmer is meant to be kind of the common person.
I mean, the front room was filled with computers. I thought it was like an internet cafe.
Oh, really? It seemed like out in the woods, like they're in a small town, small farm.
I don't think so. I think it was like an internet cafe in like the back of the internet cafe.
I think they just had a lot of computer equipment set up for a base of operations too. I don't know. The front was set up. Their secret area of operation had all those computers and whatnot in it, but that was just to show that they were
like that's where they gave them the food, and it was like a bunch of computers that looked like an internet cafe. Whatever. Husband and wife set up for these people, right? And they call them Robin Hood.
In a small town.
Yeah. But they call them Robin Hood, which only has certain connotations. So they are stealing stuff and giving it to other people. They are trying to be anarchists, but in a positive way. It's just really interesting.
Yeah. I'm not too sure what their modus operandi is and why I know why they're doing things, because they're frustrated. At least that's what we've been told. Yeah. Is that they're frustrated with the fact that the blip people came back, and now people are trying to take what other people have gotten and give that to the blip people.
Yeah, and I don't know I don't know what the glimpse of what things could be refers to just yet. I don't think that they've sort of shared that truthfully. But I definitely think that the text was from the power broker.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that whoever that is part and parcel of that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the power broker later on. When
Zemo plays in that, though, so I don't know.
I know.
So,
but then we get the idea to go and visit Isaiah Bradley. Yes,
Isaiah Bradley.
Isaiah Bradley.
If you were to do a Google search, and you just type the word Isaiah in, which I will admit is one of the few words I'm not good at spelling. I have so many problems trying to remember how many A's are in the name Isaiah. But anyway, that's on me. So if you Google Isaiah at all, it'll autofill for you with Bradley right now.
Yeah, because everybody's Googling Isaiah Bradley.
Everybody's like, who's Isaiah?
Who's Isaiah Bradley?
Yeah, and even Sam needs to know.
Well, he was Black Captain America.
Did we really need to add the black in front of that?
I mean, he was Captain America, but in the comics, they called him that.
I know.
Sorry,
I think that was the other comment, though, because like literally as they walk up,
they were trying to make a commentary.
They make the commentary.
Oh,
you're
Black
Falcon.
Yeah, they were trying to say that, right?
Hey, you're Black Kid. I got him. Hit the kid on the inside of the leg.
He was also Captain America, but like covert. And then they gave all of the credit, at least in the comics, they gave all of the credit of all of the missions that he had done to Steve.
Yep. Introduced in 2003 from Robert Morales, and the author, the artist and inker was Kyle Baker. Isaiah Bradley was introduced, and he's got about a 24 comic book run, very well received, lots of great acclaim. Really increases some depth and history in regards to the Captain America program, and kind of how insidious super soldier programs are anyway.
And also like how inevitably whatever a white person experiences, it's worse for a Black person. That's what it's saying in the comics. I mean, all of this,
that here too.
Yeah, all of this is coming out. Like, and they're keeping these themes, which is really awesome because they deserve a bigger platform and a bigger conversation through our fiction. And then the kid that answers the door, Elijah Bradley, who answers the door, is one of the future Young Avengers in the comics.
Your Young Avenger count continues.
I know.
Right?
I'm like, what are we at now?
You need a little slide with Young Avengers count.
We should. Well, after Loki, because if they do end up bringing in young Loki or Kid Loki, then we'll have like a lot of people. As part of
keep doing it. Just start making your slide.
I'll do it at the end of the season and be like, here's all the Young Avengers. And Kevin Feige is just like, so that's so interesting that we have these characters that exist in the MCU now.
Yeah. Carl Lumbly is amazing. As Isaiah. I think they brought in one of the best actors you could have.
He was amazing. Oh my God.
That sort of scene.
Very, very powerful scene.
And I mean, a lot of the stuff in this Baltimore scene outside, I don't feel like I'm the best person to talk about it. It was fraught. There was a lot of tension. It was very real in the moment, and these things happen all the time, and they do not end typically with the white guy getting thrown in the police car at the end.
Oh yeah, the next scene.
Well, and leading up where Bucky thinks it's perfectly fine to go talk to this guy that hated him. Yeah. And then this guy's like, I don't want to. I spent all day thinking about these things anyway, and you just drag that even more into color that you haven't gotten any older, and you're still just as terrible.
The most important part of this is when he says like you and talks about like he subtly hints that like Hydra was the one that threw him in jail and like kept him and utilized his blood, because that's what they said. They experimented on him and they utilized his blood and things. Yeah. So like that's the most important part as far as the plot goes. But from a conversational perspective, there's a lot of really amazing things that have happened in this. And a lot of people have talked about how important the representation has been in this show. And I really, really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. I just wish there were a few more women.
Yeah.
We got 2 this episode. One of them gets to say a few words, pout and smile, which I was hoping for more.
I was hoping for more from Aaron too.
I don't understand why Carly Morgenthau doesn't get to be the one who pumps up the people. Why did it have to be that other guy that pumped up the people? When she stands up and she's like, this is what we're going to do, and you're going to do it. And everybody kind of looks there like, and then one guy then is like, one world, one people, one world, one people, right? And
yeah, they definitely make her seem super innocent. We'll get there. But this scene, if you didn't know what was going to play out and how it was going to play out, like you have not been paying attention to the news, they made it very, very apparent. This came from a certain place of commentary. And
it's telling now why all this is happening in Baltimore in the show, because that as well has a fraught relationship with local police.
The scene with the police is just very hard to watch. It made me so uncomfortable, and that's purposeful, right? To make you uncomfortable and to make you go like, oh no. And then also like Sam's anger with Bucky associated with this, because he's like, I shouldn't have to tell them who I am. I shouldn't have to show my ID. And they're CJ from But Why Though podcast and site did a review of this episode, and I highly recommend his perspective. I don't feel I'm the right person to speak to it, other than that it is apropos of our times that we have this conversation, and we need to continuously have this conversation. And the fact that it's in our fiction is important. It would be nice if we could have less trauma-driven fiction as well. But that's not the world that the MCU is plugging into. So I hope that more, especially Black creators, create beautiful versions of the world where this doesn't exist.
Yes, because they're reflections of our real world and of the real world we live in.
Yeah.
So if we stop seeing this in our art and in our cinema, it's because it's not happening in the real world any longer. And we need to get there.
But I mean, I'm also an advocate for giving people the space. Like Wakanda is a really great example where it's part of the MCU, and it's not about trauma. It's fantasy, and it shows what can be. And that's also very important. And we're not there in America because that's where they're in America. So it was a choice that was made, of course, to include this and to continuously Malcolm Spielman seems to be wanting to tie into a lot of the conversations of our time, and that's what's happening. So
yes.
Yeah. And then they end up
So let's go to jail.
Let's go to jail.
What? Okay, so
do you have a rant?
No, I don't.
I
already kind of ranted already.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those scenes where it's like, how did we get here? Because it doesn't feel clear. Like suddenly we got Captain America, we've got the psychiatrist, Sam and Bucky all at the police station together.
It felt like a
shoehorning. Even the scene's construction when they're talking to each other, everyone's like, this is awkward. How did we get here?
Yeah.
I don't know. No one's bringing it up.
Yeah. So I told you after I watched this that this felt like the DM didn't know what to do. Like, so the dungeon master or like the game master was like, I don't know what to do, but you all end up at the police station. Yeah, okay, Bucky, you missed your therapy session. Like, wouldn't she just call him? Like,
yeah, nobody calls anyone.
It's just weird. Like, she wouldn't have been like, okay, Bucky, so did you have a nightmare? Like, she would have called him before this all happened. He has a cell phone. He misses his texts. Like,
I agree.
Like, it felt very weird to get us there. And Deus Ex Machina, like, they must all be at the police station so that we can have the next scene where they set up and align the baseline of what the relationship is officially, which the next scene is super enjoyable and interesting. And I mean, one small therapy commentary on how it's not really therapy.
It's not a therapy session.
It's fine. I mean, it's for entertainment purposes, but it's just like
it does set up one thing, and that is the prior relationship betwixt the psychiatrist and John Walker.
Yes, it does.
They
wanted to
together.
They did want to tell that, so it could be coming from a different place. It could be coming from a place of control. It could be.
I think it is because didn't John Walker bring her in?
Oh yeah.
Right. If that's the case, John Walker's pulling strings we can't even see right now.
Yeah.
In order to pull these two guys towards him.
Yeah, because he knows he probably needs them to be successful, and then he can take. And then we get this like whole like they're not talking, they're being sarcastic. So she's like, let's do the soul gazing thing, and like so I woke up Friday morning, and Kyle like comes into her, like he got up super early for some reason. He's like, okay, so it wasn't this. It was this. It was this.
Yeah.
It wasn't this. It was this. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I just woke up.
That's all she said is, well, the first thing you said was, how was the show? And I was like, it wasn't this. It was this.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, I thought that was very clear. And it was very clear when you watched this episode.
Yeah. So, yeah,
that
I mean, yeah, they made sure that they were
roll it in the field together.
Yeah, and then they sit like this, yeah.
uncomfortably close to one another and agreeing to do so.
It's just fanfic
But
food.
you had your legs that wide. What do you...
Yeah, no, now we need to sit like this. I've only ever done soul gazing one time. I took many classes on counseling therapy, on how to do it, and etc. And it's not something that you do. It's not really even a couples therapy thing. It can be done for relationship building, but I've only ever done it in drama.
Yeah, I've only ever seen it used in drama in order to build connectivity between two characters that you'd like to see connected romantically on stage together.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
now
that's really
and they're both in agreement. Yeah, this is good. I want this. This is what I want.
Yep. I love you, bro.
But it's not. It's competitive.
I know.
It's competitive eye gazing.
Yeah.
I will look into your soul first.
I'm going to get there first. Yeah. I did like this whole scene. I'm a sucker. One commentary, yeah, therapy is not like this. If you need therapy, please go see a therapist. They are really caring and loving, and it's about trust and respect, and that's what it needs to be about. And if you're experiencing therapy like this, please find another therapist.
Well, I mean, if you're experiencing therapy like this, why have you done the last 100 years of murdering of people and have now earned a United States pardon contingent upon this therapy session?
Yeah.
Because that's the type of therapy we're getting. We're not getting proper therapy.
No, I know.
To be there, and it is under extremely strange circumstances. So she has doubtlessly taken the whole book and thrown it out.
Yeah,
which I think you have to do a lot of the times anyway.
I know you have to customize things, but the fact that like John Walker can just walk in there and be like, his schedule's gonna be flexible. It's like.
Oh, but you don't get to overwrite the Sokovian Accords or whatever it was that got Bucky his pardon in the first place. Mr. Walker, like, how much power do you... Obviously, he doesn't have that much power anyway because he didn't have any say in his costume.
I mean, he
has zero say in his costume.
I know. But then we get this amazing scene, this amazing moment where he's like, well, if he was wrong about you, Sam, and giving you the shield and trusting you to be the next Captain America or what this country and the world needs, then he was wrong about me. And oh my God, I just want to give him a hug. And then the next moment, I just want to give Sam a hug when he replies, like, you and Steve will never understand why, from my perspective, why I felt like this was right.
Yeah. Dominic says she's a horrible therapist. I would just like to counterpoint to you, Dominic, to say he's a horrible patient.
Also, it's hard, yeah.
So she is doing her best in a required situation where she needs to be there as well. I mean, and I think she's got a lot of tools because obviously she has seen action.
I mean, she's gotten him to the point where he's agreed to the 3 rules.
Exactly.
So, I mean, maybe he's a tough love type guy in the fantasy setting. Yeah. This is not real life, so please don't hold it to real life standards.
Or do. It's funny anyway. It's more fun to think of it in that perspective.
I mean, if we do,
what's
it's
great is that it leads
tissue
to
paper.
These 2 lines.
Oh, yes.
Which I feel are character core concepts that we are finally getting. This whole entire episode, everything we've had in the first episode and this episode leads to this. These are the questions that these characters want answered in the absence of Steve.
Yeah, that I think, and to tie to that is Bucky is worthy, and
am I worthy is a question,
am
which is
worthy?
always everyone's question.
But Falcon's is more specific. It's that that my judgment is right. Like I have the right to make the calls. I have the right to have the plan. I have the right to do the things, right? That's more what it is.
He did what he thought was right, but he will continue to question that.
Yeah.
And he just wants everybody else to give some understanding that his actions come from a place of forethought and consideration. Like he cared about the legacy of Steve. He asked those questions that I asked at the top. Do we need one? We don't. Yeah. We can put this to rest.
I mean, that's where he's coming from. He's like, we don't need a new Captain America. We need a new hero. In the first episode, he says those words like, we need new heroes for our time. We don't need Captain America. Captain America can continue to be a symbol the way he was. You don't need to corrupt that symbol to it's making this like amazing nostalgia argument and how we don't necessarily need to revamp every franchise that exists.
Yeah. I don't need to be Captain America. I'm already the Falcon.
Yeah.
Isn't
that enough?
Was that Steve didn't even think to ask if it was enough. He just had a shield and saw that. But Sam already has a shield. His wings are a shield.
Yeah.
They show that regularly in the first episode.
He is his own version of himself, and isn't that enough? Yeah.
And so that was what he first said, but then it's responded to, like, give them the other way around. Where's the
No, this one first. I checked.
That one doesn't come first.
Yeah, it came first.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes.
I thought it was the other way around.
No.
I've seen it 3 times.
No. I wrote it down. He says this, and then he's like he goes into his whole speech about giving him the shield and who Steve was and this legacy, and this is what he ends on, and then they have this like back and forth, and he's like, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that. Well, so if we go back, because that line there is the through point for Bucky's entire
existence
storyline right now. Is can he be more? Can he be? Is
he allowed to have
Steve right?
Yeah, is he allowed to exist? Yeah, even though like none of this is his fault. He just got caught up in the Hydra schemes of things, and he still needs to repent and repair, and
it's so hard repenting and repairing for actions you had no control over.
I know,
but
he's got to try.
He accepts that he does need to do so, and he's trying his best. But I love that line, and it got me really like here. I didn't cry or get choked up or foggy or anything like that, but I felt like right in my chest and gut that what he's saying is true, because it's like if he gave you the shield and he was wrong to do so in your eyes and in his eyes, and he was wrong, then could he have been wrong about me? Is so like that's what loss is, and they are both trying to come through the grief period of having lost Steve, because they never got to grow old with Steve. Steve was young one minute, old the next, and then died. And I don't know how if I could go through that sort of up down that they've had to go through, being his support system, being 2 of his best friends. John Walker's like, come be my sidekick. No. That guy was my best friend.
Yeah.
I don't need to be your sidekick.
It's not about being a sidekick.
It's not about that.
It's not about the pageantry. It's not about the glory. It's not about the job. It's not about any of that. It is about being together with a human that you respect and you find value in yourself because of that reflection that you see in that person's eyes.
Yeah.
Bratislava. I'm not pronouncing that correctly.
Bratislava?
Bratislava? Is that okay? Shout out to Dominic, who is in the chat.
Hey, Dominic, it's your hometown.
I literally thought this as it came up with Slovakia. I'm like, I know Dominic from Slovakia. I'm such a Canadian. I've never been there, but it looks lovely from the airport. Shout out to Dominic, who messaged me right after this and was like, hey. But this is where we're introduced to the concept of the power broker. We don't really hear anything about it.
Okay, are you ready as well?
Okay.
It's time. Everyone, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
It's time
we're gonna have death count.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier death count.
Death count. Death count. Oh.
1 death.
Yeah, this was a weird episode.
That's it.
And Sam didn't kill anyone.
Also, bad guys killed a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, do we know that the flag smashers are bad yet? We don't know.
But that's what they've been countered as, right? Our good guys are fighting them.
Oh, yeah.
So I've done a little graph here of lines. So we have Sam and Bucky's side, right?
Yeah.
And they're up against Captain America and Battlestar's side, who are part of the government side, right? And so we got 3 sides there already, and then we introduced the flag smashers and how they're connected. So they're another line on this mind map of glory, connected to yet another person, the power broker or power brokers. So I don't think it's just one person in this world.
It's the power brokers men. That's what's said. So I mean, that was
I literally put a question mark here. Yeah. It's not necessarily
because they turned Flag Smasher into the Flag Smashers.
Exactly.
They might turn the Power Broker into the Power Brokers.
I honestly feel like that's an organization.
I mean, it is. Because
it's also like may very well be very well tied into the GRC.
Could be.
So we've got the GRC.
We have the
and
GRC.
then the last one of them all is we have Zemo, and we need to know where everyone is tied. Like these relationships
I'll do a full slide by the end of the season when we have the whole.
So many parties at play in here with motivations very different from each other.
Does Red Wing count?
Red Wing's dead.
No,
he does not count because he was not a thing. He doesn't have.
He's not sentient.
Personality. He doesn't have a voice. So yeah, no, I'm sorry. Red Wing doesn't count.
As soon as he gets a Jarvis-like voice, then we can count him.
I'll count him then.
It has to be a Jarvis-like voice, though.
But do I count him with because we're gonna get Red Wing 2.0. That's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, he'll come back. So he's an android, right?
Red Wing doesn't count, but good question, Allison. That was a very good question.
You're sad? You're not sad.
Not sad.
I'm sad.
You're sad.
I mean, yeah, Red Wing doesn't count.
Do you think Red Wing counts?
If he comes back, he doesn't count.
Yeah, he comes back, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the one guy that John Walker shot but didn't kill. He doesn't count in death count.
Okay.
Because he's not dead.
Yeah. He didn't die. But let's talk about the Power Broker from the comic. Any similarity to J. Jonah Jameson's likeness is purely coincidence. The Power Broker is a guy who creates super soldier serums and then gives them to people, and he creates a whole bunch. And some of these plot lines have been in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like giving people powers, where they're given powers and then they're addicted to the thing that gave them powers, like especially first season, I'm trying to remember, but like that was a big thing. And yeah, he creates super soldier serums, and I mean, I think we'll find that he has ties to old Hydra.
There's some weird Power Broker history in here. And he's the original creator of U.S. Agent's powers.
Yes. So U.S. Agent,
Power Broker, and a doctor who I can't recall.
Yeah, it's an M name.
Power Broker ends up taking this serum, and then his muscles get too big, and his body can't support him, so he gets an exosuit,
like the Hulk,
that he controls with his tongue. Literally, the history of Power Broker is messed up, and it would be so much better if they turned this into the Power Brokers. We all feel like brokers are in control of everything anyway.
Stock brokers, real estate brokers.
So Power Brokers gives this really neat symbol of these guys who are like brokering power, and I don't think it needs to be codified into a single entity for that to be a relevant threat, especially in a group that we have these other entities going on.
She got a text from a single person, so there's at least going to be a leader of them.
Yes.
We'll find out. I mean, shadow organization, they're chasing the Flag Smashers because they have obviously stolen something.
Yeah, and it's not Dr. Erskine. There's a different doctor post. It's complicated. There's lots going on. Yeah, and you can read the Wikipedia and
this
the
is
Marvel
from the comics and
website stuff. But again, what we're doing is we're pulling in that there's someone with agency and power who is brokering the power and is upset with the Flag Smashers for something they've done.
Superpowers, right? Like that's what's important is that they're basically making people superpowered.
Well, but it doesn't have to just be superpowers. They have authority. They have the ability to delegate and pass that authority on, and they are doubtlessly what is behind the rise of Captain America.
Yeah, they're probably going to be connected to John Walker.
If they'd only done more of like Captain America's rising against the Flag Smashers, I would have seen more of that, but they didn't give us those things.
Yeah,
right. They didn't say that he was in response to the Flag Smashers, which is funny because I could see Power Broker having created the Flag Smashers and Captain America as his own way of controlling the world.
Oh yeah, and like promoting superpowered people wanting to get superpowers, and it's kind of insidious. Yeah. It's interesting. I think it's interesting. I did want to point out that scene with John Walker throwing the shield, and then they're talking like, you're a perfect specimen. You rank off the charts in strength and agility and all of these things. And it's like, you're probably not just a regular human.
Assuredly, he is not.
More, are you?
He is not.
Yeah. So, we'll see what ends up playing out, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. They don't really go into what anything is other than that they need to leave, and then somebody needs to sacrifice themselves so that they can escape the Power Brokers. That is an important thing, is that one of the 8 people was willing to sacrifice themselves fully to not go along to protect the rest of them. That is the importance.
How can you not empathize if this guy's willing to give up his life for these people who were smuggling vaccines and have been supported by the town folk and the small settlements that have come up since the blip? I can't see anything other than the Flag Smashers being sympathetically viewed in this episode.
But there might be some sort of twist about how the superpowers manifest. Yeah. I feel like there might be something in that, because they're really making, especially Carly, feel empathetic with her gazes and her looks, unless she's superpowered, and it's like almost like a switch. And no, but unless she's like deciding to use her powers, there's some sort of switch that happens. That's what I'm getting from the acting. Yeah, and then they all put on their masks, so it's like maybe they have a crazy smile when their powers are activated or something. I don't know.
Your brain goes.
I come down this rabbit hole with me. I'm right.
They're all the Joker's men. Okay.
Yes, all the Joker's men.
Interesting.
I don't know. And then we get this. Oh well, what we must go after Zemo. Because he knows the most about Hydra. That's the only reason they're going to go and talk to him, because he's the only one who knows the most about Hydra and how these things all play out. And they want to know more about the super soldiers and where they potentially came from, which we will find out is connected to the power brokers probably next episode.
Yeah, which is connected to the Isaiah, which is the other reason we had this scene. I think they're going to realize that Zemo is a dead end, and that it's actually Isaiah's blood that's being used to have been generated, and figure this all out down the road.
But then Zemo's probably going to escape, and he'll be ending up like, I got to destroy all the superpowered people because they all suck.
I don't know. I don't know what Zemo's motivations are going to be. That's what we saw in the commercial.
I know, but it could be cut weird.
Exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I am excited, interested, and intrigued as to where things are going to go from here, and I'm hopeful to see Agent 13 next episode. We are now done the first act of this show, and we have not introduced all of the players in it, because Zemo hasn't been in. Like, we just see him in the camera,
and we don't see Sharon.
Yeah, so we still have 2 more characters to introduce who are doubtlessly going to have major bits of plot for us to move forward and resolve this. But can it be resolved? Is this like...
Yeah, they were definitely trying to make some just a quick back to Zemo. Like, they were definitely trying to do parallels to Hannibal Lecter, like just like with the chess set and the classical music. And it's like, this person is a very smart individual. That's what they're saying. And of course you can see the lovely hallway that we walk down behind us, because I love this. Like, I love forced perspective like this, where we're like, it feels endless. And just a shout out to 2187, which is a common number that we see within Star Wars. I wonder if that was just an Easter egg just for fun or not. That's his cell number, or his like prisoner number, 2187. So shout out to that. FN 2187, Leia's cell, 2187, the short film that George says influenced him in how he thinks about the Force. That's what that number is. Yeah.
Insidious.
It is. It's everywhere in Star Wars too. They put it everywhere.
Funny.
Yeah.
So I want to go back. Battlestar. I'd like to know a little bit more about who that character is.
Yeah.
Okay. So Battlestar was created by I didn't look that up, but I think it was Mark Gruenwald who was doing that run at the time, and Battlestar and US Patriot. So Battlestar and US Patriot, John Walker and 2 other guys were all wrestlers. And they were very strong, big, capable, and they were enlisted into a super soldier program together. And the 2 of them, and the other 2 as well, all were successful in the super soldier programming and became Super Patriot, U.S. Agent, eventually Captain America.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, when this was all happening, they decided that Lamar Hoskins would be like a sidekick, but not really a sidekick, because he was just as strong, just as tough, and actually just a little bit bigger than Captain America, John Walker. But they were both becoming superheroes and out in the public eye, very similar to this. And Lamar Hoskins was also a super soldier, and he was part of a group that John Walker was part of as well, called the Bold Urban Commandos. Right, that's what they were called. And this was a funny thing because they then called themselves the Buckies.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh my God.
Mark Gruenwald, growing up in Midwest America, had no idea of the social commentary, although he probably should have realized a few things, as they turned the sidekick of Captain America's Bucky, who was a white teenager, and they said, you know what, here's an adult black man to be the new Bucky. And he took on the superhero name of Bucky, and the first issue came out, and they started getting all these letters. Mark Gruenwald hadn't seen these yet. And so they went to, and so this one guy comes into another guy's office and he's like, I don't know if I can continue to work here. This place, like, I've read this comic and it's fraught. It's terrible. You do realize that a buck is a slang term for an African-American man, a young black man in America, and it's not positive. And here you have a character calling himself Bucky. Which is like, not only that, it's so like, why would you do this? And he's like, I didn't know the guy he was talking to had no idea that was the case. And he was very apologetic. And he said, well, you go talk to Mark for me. And he's like, I think you need to talk to Mark. He's like, if I talk to Mark, I'm going to get fired. He's like, no, not talking to Mark about this is going to be the worst thing ever. We need to go tell him now. So they went to Mark Gruenwald's office. There's all these stories and articles about this conversation happening. Although, unfortunately, the guy who blew the whistle on Bucky and whatnot, he is passed, and so has Mark Gruenwald. So it's neither here nor there. The funny thing is, the guy who walked in there to tell that story is Keegan-Michael Key's half brother. Keegan-Michael Key didn't even find out that he was his half brother until after he had passed away. Okay, back to the story.
Okay.
Keegan-Michael Key's half brother that he doesn't know about goes into Mark Gruenwald's office and explains this. And Mark Gruenwald, rather than get angry, gets upset. And he's like, I had no idea that this was the case.
Yeah.
And instead
sensitivity readers.
Right? He's like, how do we fix this?
Yeah.
How do we fix this? And he said, I want you. You're my number one guy on this. You know more than I do. I want you to deal with this. I want you to be the one who helps me figure this out. And I want to do this in the comic book. I want to put my mea culpa right into the comic book itself.
Like, that when we make these some ways, apologize in the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He needs a better name.
Wow.
He needs a better decision. He needs a whole new costume. He shouldn't be Bucky, the white teenager sidekick. He is an equal to Captain America, and we should have done that from the get-go. How do we fix this? And they did it in the comic book itself.
Wow.
And it's great pages of comic book to read, because you get to see this form of thought and people expressing, how this was wrong and how this should be fixed, and him making the choice of becoming Battlestar, and Captain America be like, what happened to the Bucky costume? And he's like, no, I got to do this myself. I got to pick my costume because I didn't want to be a teenage white kid, and I'm your sidekick. I am not that person. I'm
your partner.
I'm your partner. And Cap's like, I didn't get to say anything about my costume. John Walker's like, I wasn't allowed to do anything about mine, which was really funny in the comic.
Yeah.
So great stuff. Battlestar goes on to star in Silver Sable and the Wild Pack comics. He has a little brief stint in there. He doesn't really have much else other than that, but he is a great superhero from this transition from being this Bucky guy to getting to be his own hero with his own story and his own potential. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of Lamar Hoskins, because if he is in fact just as strong, just as capable, just as fast,
it would be nice to see more stories from his perspective and him being highlighted in that.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's good that they made up for their mistakes, but, sensitivity readers all the way along, as well as creators represented in the creation of all of these characters, would help.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're done the first act, which was really just a ton of introduction to everything.
Whew. So introduced.
So we're very introduced. What do we expect to see in the second act from a structure perspective, or from are we going to get a twist? Are we going to get we didn't think this was what it was, Well,
we have our heroes together, right?
Yeah.
That's the
or at least they're
purpose
all
of that.
working on
the
things.
heroes are now together, and the heroes in the second act are going to go up against the Flag Smashers. That's their purpose, right? They got to bring this Flag Smashers down, and they're going to realize over the course of that aggression against the Flag Smashers that there is more at play in the world around them, and they have to figure out who the true bad guy is. And unfortunately, I honestly don't see how Sam and Bucky could possibly be the true superheroes to take out an organization like the Power Broker.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can go up against an incel group like the Flag Smashers, and you can smash them to the ground, because they're not super huge and they're not super like they're small cell organized sort of thing. I don't, but
the Power Brokers seem very much like, the I don't want to use the words Illuminati, but they seem like they've got more behind the scenes and they're maybe connected to larger things.
Yeah.
And we also don't know what the Flag Smashers like big thing that they're going to do that's going to change everything is yet. Some sort of big thing that they're going to do. Yeah. And that will probably call super attention to them from all angles, right?
But obviously this show is not going to go through Bucky's list of people he needs to apologize and make amends.
Although Zemo's on that list, so we'll see. And that we might get a moment where he's like, I am no longer the Winter Soldier. I am James Buchanan Barnes. I would love that.
Has to happen.
If he and then crosses it off his list and he's like, now let's talk about that.
Exactly. I'm excited. Yeah. I think that there's definitely some changes and twists that are to come. We still have 6-7 more hours of this, give or take. I mean, each episode is about 45 minutes long.
There's only 4 more episodes.
Oh, there's only 4 more episodes. That's right. So we have 3 full hours of going to Mordor and back again. We just don't know where Mordor is and what Mordor is in this regard.
Yes. Yeah. And I do think that Sam saying let's go and take, finish this and then take a long vacation separate from each other like that we got in the therapy session. I actually think that they might choose to take a vacation together at the end, because that would be the, we need to be together and be friends because we're better together than we are apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jesse keeps saying Leah. Is that the actress who plays Sharon Carter?
No, Leah was the girl that Bucky went on the date with in the first episode.
Oh, yeah, I don't see her coming back anytime soon.
It would be nice if she did, but I don't.
He walked out on that date and he never came back.
She's probably like, that guy was really weird.
Yeah, that was a weird date. Flowers were nice. I
probably should have taken his advice and not gone on a date with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. I think that we've got lots to look forward to in this show, and there is a lot more to be said about patriotism, nationalism, how our government wants us to view and act, and hopefully the answer is spend less on national defense.
Yeah, yeah, more on education and healthcare. I don't know if I think this show was set to be a short run show. People are asking about a season 2. I know Loki has already been confirmed to be 2 seasons. So it just now, I don't know. I think they might wrap everything up from a story perspective in this one season. And yeah, who knows?
Well, that was it. That was us.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope that you have a great week. Until next week, make sure to like and subscribe to make sure to catch all of these episodes.
You know what? Enjoy them so much you go back and watch them again.
Yeah, do that too.
But if you have your own thoughts about where the show's going to go and what it's going to do, and hey, am I wrong? Am I right about what this show's about? What do you think the show's about? What are they trying to tell us about the world around us? Because that's the only lens through which I want to watch a television show, is how should I newly see the world, or what new information should I have on the world? And you can hit me up on Twitter. I am at Tavern Tales DM.
And if you want to follow the show, we're WT Force Media on Twitter, where we post lots of stuff about the shows that we're watching right now. Or you can follow me personally on my Twitter at Marie C. Gould. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out live in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
So, another Dr. Pepper?
Oh, my God. Maybe. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.